SL, the Coffee Addict, proudly presented.
Hi everybody, it's SL the Coffee Addict, and I'm really sorry. Maybe you don't notice, but the shelf I am propping the phone on is kind of tilted, so it's throwing me off that it's slightly off kilter. If you're wondering where my Avatar, The Last Airbender reactions have been, I am really sorry. As I've stated before, I have never reacted to a show before, so this is a first-time experience for me, and I don't know how to do it specifically. I kind of predicted this would happen. I would do a lot of episodes at once, then I would kind of, step back a little bit, based on the surrounding everyday drama of my life. But I have nothing to do today except wash this sink full of dirty dishes. And I don't want to. And I don't really have any video content prepared. I haven't read that much. Exactly. I don't have any full-fledged video essays to bring to you. So I decided to instead kind of bounce ideas off of you today while I grabbed this sponge, soak it in Gain soap. As you can see, it is now sufficiently soapy, and start doing dishes while I talk about the random subjects that I've wanted to do for a while, instead of just, taking time to do a whole video based on that one thing. Sheesh. Sorry. Okay, so first things first. What do I think about Avatar: The Last Airbender so far? I've watched 3 episodes. That's not a lot. That's very, very few. Thank you guys for your suggestions on how to make the reactions better. I'm really sorry that they're not up to par with, Crew Blind Wave and stuff like that. But as I go forward, hopefully it will get substantially better. This water pressure sucks. I was immediately surprised by the fact that I did not like the brother, Sokka, and then equally surprised when by the 3rd episode I had kind of gotten over my initial hatred for him. I'm guessing I'm gonna start liking him a lot more. I'm so predictable. I really like Aang. He's a good protagonist. I like Zuko. I have a feeling that based on how I feel about the show so far, by the end of the series, I am going to full out love it. So that's a good thing. I kind of went into this thinking that there was no chance that it was going to be as good as they say it was going to be. As everyone, on the internet was just like, it's the best thing ever, and stuff like that. I didn't think that was going to be the case, but based on the 3 episodes I've seen so far, and how much I've already grown to love the characters, I'm guessing that the assumptions of the internet that I will love the show are 100% correct. I'll try to get out those reactions as soon as possible. I'm sorry for the delay. Everyday drama. Okay. Up next, reading updates. I have not been reading that much, or rather I have, but only one specific series, that being the Mistborn trilogy. I was recommended by one of my friends to read the Mistborn trilogy, and when we were kids, this guy would recommend these books to me constantly, and almost every single time he recommended one, I loved it. The only couple of times where I didn't like something he suggested was because it was a bit too late by the time I read it. He told me he really liked the Beyonder series, and I read that when I was in my 20s. I didn't like it much, but I'm guessing I was outside of the age demographic when I did so. But I read them based on his suggestion. So far I've read 2 books. The first 2 books in the Mistborn trilogy, and I am currently on the 3rd, The Hero of Ages. I'm probably going to do a video on that book trilogy, so I don't really want to go into too much detail on the books, other than it's been a roller coaster. I have changed my mind about how I feel about this series so much since opening the book for the first time. One minute I'll be like, what? This is the best thing ever. Then the other moment I'll be like, this is so long. And then I'll just be like, what is going on? What are you doing? Yeah. That's how I'm feeling about it so far. When I finish the 3rd book, I will try to get back to you on that one. And as I understand it, there's a whole universe worth of books in that series, so technically, once I finish Mistborn, I have to read those too. I don't wanna... Guys... I haven't been to see any movies lately, but I don't need to, as there's been plenty of movie drama outside of theaters so far. That didn't make any sense. So, Spider-Man's no longer part of the MCU. That really sucks. Like, Tom Holland has not been my favorite Spider-Man at all. But the moment I realized that it wasn't a joke, I just felt genuinely horrified. You know, like, even though he's not my favorite Spider-Man, I realized how much I've taken for granted that Spider-Man is in the MCU. So apparently Disney wanted too much and Sony wanted too much. I mean, most people I think blame Sony, but frankly I feel like it might have been more Disney. I know they did a lot of work in bringing Spider-Man to life, but they wanted, if I'm not getting it wrong, 50% of, you know, the earnings from Spider-Man, the gross earnings. I'm not sure how that works specifically. I don't know if it's just 50% of the first day or altogether. But they also wanted 50%, I might be getting this wrong, but they wanted shares in the other Spider-Man titles Sony was working on, like Venom 2, Morbius the Living Vampire. So it's not just a simple thing of Disney wanted a little bit more of their paycheck and Sony said no. There was actually more of like Disney was just asking a bit too much. Because why do they need Morbius and Venom when that whole Amy Pascal, Kevin Feige thing happened and became a meme? Now they suddenly are like, yo, Venom made $1 billion. Can we get some of that, please? Jeez. But yeah, that really stinks. But one thing that's kind of bothering me is how everyone's just assuming it can't work outside of the MCU. As long as you have Tom Holland and the cast of Spider-Man, like Zendaya and Jacob, I think his name's Jacob something. As long as you have those characters in your movies, it's gonna be fine. As long as Sony, you know, actually makes a decent movie. Which is the big question. Everyone's been complaining that Iron Man's not going to be mentioned, and Captain America can't be mentioned, and the Blip can't be mentioned. Guys, you were fine with Uncle Ben not even being mentioned by name once. Because you already know the story of Uncle Ben, so you don't need to be told constantly. The same thing can work here. Just a few tips, like a few inserts in the script, like, I can't lose anybody again, you know, like, I've been through a lot. Like, we barely got any context for Uncle Ben's death. Like, even for, you know, a film which is relying, you know, solely on the fact that you know Uncle Ben's dead, like, there is very little to indicate that Uncle Ben existed and that Peter feels any guilt over it at all. There's maybe one scene where that's a thing, and everything else is just like, oh, look, his initials are on a suitcase. That's enough. You do not need to go into full-blown exposition for the MCU to make Tom Holland outside of the MCU work. Can he and Venom have a versus movie? I know those movies are bad. Like, you know, like, they're cheap. But it doesn't have to be. It would be so cool if we got a Venom v Spider-Man movie. Of course, we'd rather have Spider-Man versus Deadpool, I'm pretty sure. That's not gonna happen now. Oh. I'm just saying that people need to calm down a little because, frankly, they can make it work if they put their minds to it. And hey, maybe with Disney out of the picture, maybe we can actually get that Spider-Verse movie with, you know, Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. And my fingers are getting wrinkled. Okay, so the Rise of Skywalker looks dope. I mean, I know that Disney kind of does this, like, they release a cool-looking trailer, and we all go, ooh, wow, and then they release it, and it's more like, oh, clickbait. I mean, even the end of the trailer, where Evil Rey, like, pops out, and you're, like, even though it's cool, at the same time, you're like, oh, no, there's more dishes over there. But in the back of your head, you're like, oh, haven't we done this before? Like, The Last Jedi... the trailer essentially was Rey being like, I need someone to show me how to use the Force, and Kylo was like, hey, take my soapy hand. Take my soapy hand. Do it, you know. But then when the movie came out, those two scenes weren't even, you know, together. Like, they were two separate scenes that were just cut together to make it look like Rey was considering turning to the dark side. I mean, it was kind of how the scene played out anyway, but it was a lot different. Excuse me. Gotta get those dishes! Let go of my cup. Cup holder. But the trailer does look dope, nonetheless. I really can't think of anything critical to say, other than maybe the fact that Evil Rey is probably clickbait and not gonna amount to anything other than a Force vision. But as long as the Force vision, like, helps Rey progress as a character... As long as the Force, this Force vision helps Rey grow as a character, I'm fine with that. If the thing turns out to be something a bit more clever and original, then I am 100% down. I really hope Episode 9 is good. I really hope Episode 9 is good. I heard that prequel themes for the music will be in the movie, so I'm down for that too. This video is not nearly as interesting as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be full of insightful observations and stuff that people would be hungry for, and so far I just come across as an idiot blabbing about movies, using too much soap, and using my mind to break cups. Sorry. These dishes are all done, and now I'm going to wait for them to dry. They'll probably be there for weeks. That will be next video. Drying the dishes and putting them away. I'll have to get like a head camcorder. But those are my disturbing thoughts. What do you think about these things? Please let me know down below. And I'm running out of energy to talk. So clearly it is time to stop talking. I'm SL the Coffee Addict. Oddly enough, never drinking coffee. Peace out. Turn off.